Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast, joined by Daylan Flowers, and we're going to talk a little bit of Ole Miss football, Ole Miss sports today. How you doing, Daylan?
Doing fantastic, man. I'm kind of getting back into the realm of just the college world, and my schedule's been really hectic and busy, but I'm doing well, man, and staying on top of things and just taking things one day at a time, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's a situation. You were talking off air before we started. You missed both games last week in basketball. So next time that happens, you have to, I don't know, get in line and tell us and break us down on what's going on there, because, you know, the hoop and the sip thing, Ole Miss is kind of, they're playing this out right now.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of really in our social media team for all sports. It's just been fantastic. But our social media basketball team is really elevated this year with Chris Beard coming in. And just things kind of like Kyle Whitefield is blowing up over the last couple of weeks, and I think that's just given us a lot of different momentum on different social media platforms. And in this day and age, when you can benefit very highly on social media, that's always good for your program. And man, what he's been able to do, Chris Beard, and I know, things are never going to be perfect, but what he's been able to do in less than 12 months here is just really remarkable. And I think it's a test to how good of a coach he can be no matter where he's at in the country. And I think it's a test to what his players that he brought back from last year's teams are bought into, and what the acquisition he decided to go after guys for the transfer, what he wanted and what they brought in, and they've done such a phenomenal job so far. And this is not an easy conference to play in, man. We've had some incredibly tough road games as well, and we've come out victorious. We've had some incredibly tough home games, and we've come out victorious. And it just, I've seen a lot of improvement, especially over the last 2 weeks with this basketball team, and I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more happy with where we're at, man. And it's going to continue growing into something that we wanted for basketball at this school for a long time, and now we're finally get to being part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and we'll go ahead and talk about this. Ole Miss tomorrow night plays South Carolina. South Carolina is 19-3. Last year in the Kermit Davis fired game, his last game at Ole Miss, the SEC tournament game, Ole Miss beat South Carolina. South Carolina is 19-3 right now. Ole Miss is 18-4. And South Carolina has wins at Tennessee, which everybody should know. Tennessee beat Ole Miss pretty good to start SEC play. They have a win over Kentucky. How can Ole Miss beat the South Carolina team?
Well, I would like to say, I just think we need to stick to what we know, and not try to get a little too uncomfortable at times. And I know that's going to happen, but how are we able to kind of be a strive for perfection inside the boxes that we are really good at? And when we can really do that, I think the things outside of those boxes will do well. I think if we can shoot the ball really well, we will do good, because our rebounding against a Carolina team that has a really dominant paint force, and they've been really rebounding the ball really ever since conference play has started. They've elevated their rebounding, and their bigs have just done a phenomenal job on both ends of the floor rebounding the basketball. So I think if we can take smart shots and not allow rebounds to fly over the place, I think that will help us tremendously. Also, I think something defensively wise, our transition defense has grown a lot since kind of the middle of the season has started, and since conference play has now begun. I've seen our transition defense just pick up a little bit more of the intensity of picking up guys, figuring out where you need to be on the floor once we get back down to the other side of the field. And avoiding a lot of just stupid fouls have been really smart from our defense on the transition side as well. I think something that, you can get either win with it really well, or you can lose really bad, is free throws in this conference. And when you're, quitting stupid fouls, you're going to lose a lot of games. And I've come to understand that you don't want to be putting teams at the line for unnecessary reasons. So if you want to foul. But if not, we haven't done that. And I'm very proud of our team for doing it. That just attests to a mental focus of where our team is and what the coaching staff has implemented into them, and allowing them to improve in that situation. It's going to be a fun game. I think Carolina is really well coached. And I think if we just stick to our P's and Q's, we'll be good. And I think we're kind of a little hungry right now, man, coming off a loss against Auburn, a really good Auburn team that has a chance to to be really good in the postseason as well. So I'm not, upset by that loss at all this weekend. But I think we saw what true competition can be in terms of around the country and elite competition this past weekend. And I think that was a good stepping stone to see where we are and what we need to do to help continue get to the next level for our basketball team.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. And if Ole Miss can, I always say all the time, Ole Miss can win this game. There's a difference between can, should, and will. But South Carolina coming in, that's going to be closer to the Mississippi States, the A&Ms. That is the talent level that Ole Miss is going to be going up against. So try and string it together and try and get the W. And then a week later, you have Kentucky and Rupp. And both the Colonial Life Center and Rupp Arena, they're both house of horrors for Ole Miss basketball. But Ole Miss has a chance to do something pretty interesting. Now, Daylan, to change the subject a little bit, ESPN absolutely loves this 24 Ole Miss football team.
Mm-hmm.
They had a story over the weekend to where basically their 6 top college football writers, they asked them about different things like who the debutante for the playoff is going to be. Everybody gave simulated brackets on it, and 5 out of the 6 of them gave Ole Miss a home game. They're hosting a first-round playoff game. One person just had them playing Alabama in an 8-9 game where they were the 9 seed. And this is pretty cool whenever you think about it. And in some of the matchups they had in there was like Ole Miss hosting Michigan, Ole Miss hosting Notre Dame, Ole Miss hosting USC. There'd be 500,000 people in Oxford that day.
Yeah. It's fantastic, man. And this is a testament to Keith Carter, our athletic director, and what he's been able to do, not just for football, but like I just talked about Chris Beard in basketball, Coach Yo on the women's team. Mike Bianco won a national championship a couple years ago. Our rifle team is just doing fantastic. Our volleyball team is improving every year. We are one of the top programs in the country now. And this is not a knock at any other schools or anything, but we're here to stay for a long time. And it feels good to be a part of it. And I said this a lot throughout football season. Before the football season that started last year, we were, I think, projected by a lot of different sources to have the number 1 hardest schedule in the conference. And we finished this past season having the most wins in Ole Miss football season history. And I just can't say this enough that people should not take for granted what we have right now, what we're going to have this upcoming season, man. Enjoy every moment of it, because I've never been a part of this before. We're just a mentality, a program, and a piece of confidence, honestly, for a team that I've been able to support. We have aspirations of winning the national championship, and that's what our aspirations should be, man. We should be aiming for that, and I think that the coaching staff and the players are going for that goal. I know we've seen a lot of the last dance thing going around for the football team. It just and that focuses on who are bringing that back, and the transfer bringing in. A lot of them only have 1 year left, and so this is do or die this year for those guys. And I'm excited for it, man, because this is not been an overnight success. This has been built, and it's been built day by day, and we're just kind of seeing it come into fruition now. And I would love to just also say that it's awesome to see things like that, because a lot of sources don't. Oxford, Mississippi is just a little town that a lot of people fly over, and now we're on that checker mark for where you got to stop at this place before you get out of town, and that makes me happy, man. And it's just amazing to see where everything has started from and where it's going to. And at the same time, it's fun, but we have to make sure we meet these expectations as well. We have to make sure we're doing what we do best. And we have to do what we know we can, and that's win football games this upcoming season. So I love it, but let's also make sure we take care of business when time comes as well.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you brought up a couple of names on there. What are some of the players that you're looking forward to seeing this spring? What somebody you want to lay eyes on?
Oh, that's a really good question. Man. Offensively, I'll go Antoine Juice Wells. I think he was number 1 or number 2 as a wide receivers in the transfer portals coming into this offseason. And Of course, he battled with a few different things at Carolina. So I don't think people got to truly see his full potential at South Carolina. And I would love to just see what he does within this offense, what his ability as a tackle breaker it can be, his deep ball threat can be, and just his confidence that I think he brings to this football team. I think he brings a good vote of confidence that, it doesn't matter if there's one or two guys on me, I can go up and get it. And so I'm excited to see how he flows with this offense, where we use him, how quick he is too, man. I think for his size, he's a really quick guy as well. And I think that's can be very substantial for us on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see Juice Wells. And defensively, that's a great question. Honestly, I'll go Sontarian Perkins, and I think he had a stellar freshman year, and he met expectations, honestly exceeded expectations this past year. I think he was highly touted for us. Of course, the only 5-star out of the recruiting class last year, but we've seen this with Lane. We don't know how much, freshmen are going to play on the field, no matter what side of the ball it is, but he went out there and he dominated, man. He felt comfortable if they put him in the middle of the linebacker pack or the left or the right side. We played him on the edge a lot of times, and he felt really comfortable, and he looked quick, and he looked like he owned the field every down. And I'm excited to see where his progression has gone in the last couple of months and where it's going to continue to go, man. I think spring is a time to see where guys are at currently, but I think it's also still the ability to allow them to learn. And I learned that last year, being to come to the practices in the spring game, that Pete is really vocal during the practices in the spring game. So when the guys have done something wrong, done something good, or he wants to see something different or see something more from someone. So I'm excited to see Sontarian Perkins. I think the sky's the absolute limit for that kid, and he's bought into what this program has brought into him. So I'm excited to see him.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Daylan Flowers, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. And we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Howdy toddy, y'all.